If you want to support our podcast financially, please visit patreon.com/IIMBSB. Also, email us with questions or ideas at ifimaypodcast@gmail.com.
Welcome to If I May Be So Bold, a podcast about relationships.
The ones we have with others, the one we have with ourselves.
And given that Dan and I are a couple, you're going to be hearing about our relationship too.
I'm Dan Epstein, a recording artist, former opera singer, and relational coach.
I'm Justin Waring Crane, a therapist, recovering perfectionist, and karaoke star. I was thinking, I just want to talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm following. I'll be a follower.
I feel like, in general on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was reflecting and I was like, you know what? If I'm not talking about what I want to talk about,
yeah,
this podcast is a failure to me.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking about what's interesting or what's smart sounding or provocative, I just don't care. I just really want to shoot from the hip a little bit more, have some more fun. Keep it kind of silly. I don't know. It's just I don't want it to be this super academic thing.
Yeah.
I think we can dip into that mode from time to time. God knows I'm comfortable.
Well, it's interesting because you famously have a history of feeling like you get kind of knocked off your saddle by people who want to be all intellectual and learned.
Not anymore. It's more now I'm just so bored because I can go there and I'm just
right. That's what I was gonna say.
This isn't interesting to me. So.
But you're such a student too, where you're you'll get really excited to talk about a concept or an idea.
That's true. But only if it feels real to me. If I'm oh, okay, this concept is something I can put into practice. Writing on loose leaf paper by candlelight, by hand. Okay.
What about it?
Well, it's just okay. The concept behind that is you change your environment, you change your state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You change the whole process. So if I'm, instead of writing in my diary with, lighting that feels
like a hospital.
Yeah. It's just I needed to feel sexy and Shakespeare. So yeah, but it's funny because it's I am writing on printer paper, but I'm using my imagination to pretend it's parchment,
Yeah.
So I've been trying to do that. Have a little ritual around that. I light 3 candles. I sit at my desk. I turn out all the lights in my room. Pull the blinds.
Okay.
And just let it flow out. And I think even too, it's changed the way I write, the things I write in my diary. I'm writing
you're writing
I'm
I can't see anything. Is this legible?
It's I think before I was what if somebody sees this? I want to come off cool, know? And totally. I'm because what if I die tomorrow and then they find my diary and it's so insipid.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I just want to say, because it's Pride, happy Pride, everyone. And because it's Pride, I just want to shout out Celsius, the energy drink, because an unnamed source who's very private, I won't say their identity, told me that the gays love Celsius. So I think I have to shout out Celsius in honor of Pride. I know. See, that's what I mean. It's I don't want to edit myself so much,
Sure.
Because it's I'd rather say something and then someone be yeah, that really hurt my feelings, and then have some repair around that than just
yeah,
not than just be like so
Right.
perfectionistic
Right.
around.
Like the next episode will be like, we just want to say we know not all gays love Celsius.
Yeah, like which of course goes without fucking saying, which is just like that's the thing. It's like I don't know. There's some like perfectionism or like being overly careful, which like of course we know. Not all gays love Celsius, okay? But I just want to say be careful with Celsius cuz I don't know what's in there. Even though like the ingredients are, supposedly on the can. But it can do you dirty. Like this past week on the way to work, okay, I knew that I shouldn't drink Celsius first thing in the morning. On an empty stomach. It was the first thing that like passed through my lips. Okay. I was like, don't do it. And I was like, I'm doing it. And and then on the way to work, I felt wildly nauseous. I was like, God, I don't know if I'm gonna make it to work. I like was almost like texting my client, like, I'm not gonna make it. Like I had the text written and didn't send it. And then I was like, I wanna say intersections are the most like vulnerable place on earth. It just feels like because everyone's just like sitting there watching, like waiting for the light to turn red. So when I'm at an
Waiting for it to
intersection,
turn green.
yeah, okay, or red. No, so, but it just feels so vulnerable. So I would like, when I feel sick, and I of course have this anxiety of throwing up in my car, causing a car accident, which leads to my death. So when I get to an intersection, I'm like, and then if I throw up, at an intersection, like everyone's going to see it. It's like intersections are like a stage, basically. Okay. Anyway, so I was just like trying to get to work, but every time I got to an intersection, got to a red light, I was just like panicking, And I get to the intersection that I usually will do a U-turn at to go to Starbucks when I'm going to get Starbucks before work. And the left turn arrow is red. But like I'm the first car, in line, and I like have to shit really bad. So I just like I ran that red light
from the Celsius.
Yeah. So I ran that red light, and I'm not talking like, oh, it's turning yellow. Oh, it's turning red. I'm gonna go. No, it's like I'm sitting at the red light, and I'm like,
Yeah,
now I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay. But see, like you're on my wavelength. Not everyone is, but
right.
Anyway, so just be careful with Celsius. And I did make it. I did make it to the bathroom on time. I think that's all I have for Celsius. Do you have anything for Celsius or Pride?
My cousin, my dad's cousin, Bob, loves Celsius.
Oh, hey, Bob. Bob's listening. A second point on my list. I get really worked up about this. And I have to say something, even though maybe I'm wrong, and that will come out and I'll be fine with that and work through that. But I need people to stop saying nature versus nurture. It's so fucking annoying to me. And I feel like
I'm perking up.
I feel like I can't listen to a single podcast these days where it's like, people know, like people took like AP psychology, or they've taken like a psychology class in their lives, or they've like come across this idea at some point or another. And I think maybe there's like some like Mandela effect around it where like people
What
like
is that?
misunderstand. Well, the way I understand the Mandela effect is that large percentages of the population misremember like a significant event, or like the example that like pops up in Google when you type it in is like they'll show like the Fruit of the Loom logo, and they'll show it like with a cornucopia basket, and they'll show it without, and they're like, which one's the real one? And a lot of people think it's the one with the cornucopia, and it's not, so things like that. But so maybe as it applies to nature versus nurture, people just heard that phrase being tossed around. And so they were like, yeah, this is like an ongoing debate of like, is it nature? Is it nurture? And I just can't stand it because in my AP psychology book in high school in 2009, 2010, it was just like, yeah, like nature versus nurture isn't really being debated anymore. We're widely understanding that it's nature via nurture. And it's like, it was kind of like, yeah, like this has sort of been like resolved. And so like now hearing people say like, if we just don't know, is nature nurture? It's just like, it drives me crazy. I just feel like people aren't like maybe looking into things, you know?
I don't totally understand why it bothers you so much.
Because it just feels like
What do you?
it's been solved. I feel like it's not so cut and dry because it's not one or the other, right?
Okay.
But I think people want to be like, it's one or the other, like it's nature or nurture. That's what I think the verses implies when people say nature versus nurture. And just the fact that like if you do a little bit of reading, if you read an idiot's book, if you read like my high school textbook, you'll find that it's nature via nurture. You know, it's like nature expresses itself, you know, to varying degrees based on how a person is nurtured. So please stop. Whoever's doing it, stop it. And maybe I'm wrong. So I want to hear. If I'm wrong, I want to hear about it. Because maybe I'm annoying people.
So are you, when they're doing it, you're just not interested, it sounds like.
I'm so not interested in the way that it's framed as like it's kind of the end of the discussion because it's like, well, we throw our hands in the air because is it nature or nurture? You know, it's like, it's just hard for me. So, feels important to talk about. And now you're wishing you hadn't agreed to do this episode. That's fine. Yeah. Should we just take a moment to check in and let people know about what we've been going through?
Okay.
Why don't you take it away?
Yeah. Okay. I've been depressed. And also, it feels like both Justin and myself have been a bit like in a daze, a bit in a malaise, kind of just feeling a bit asleep, and like asleep specifically to what's going on between us. I think this happens. Like the way I'm thinking about it is in any long-term relationship that like people kind of go through an ebb and flow of connectivity, like periods of being more disconnected and periods of like finding each other and feeling more joy from the connection and in interdependence. I think for a little bit I was feeling like it was just a lull in that way, more of a down period, and I was having a lot of relationship anxiety, and it was really stressing me out. Some of the experiences I was having were like just feeling not drawn to Justin, and like this kind of deep sadness and fear around that was like meaningful, and like a reflection of some incompatibility and a lot of like spiraling on that thought and feelings of like having a hard time feeling excited and hopeful about the future. And I brought it up in therapy, in my individual therapy, and Justin and I had also previously mentioned to Justin, maybe it's a good time for us to have another couples therapy session, which we go to my therapist for that.
Sporadically.
Sporadically.
If it was like a weekly thing, we would not be going to
Right.
dance therapist.
Fair. And so I when I brought up that I thought we should go to a session, shortly thereafter, I brought up what was going on with me, which was just kind of sharing this feeling I was having, feeling a lot of anxiety and stress thinking around the relationship. And I was about to leave town the next day when I brought this up, which was a hard thing for on Justin's end.
Yeah. So what I heard, and what you said, I guess I will quote you, is, and maybe it won't be exact, but this is not just me like putting a spin on things when I say that this is what you said. Why'd you roll your eyes?
Why'd you feel like you had to say that?
Because I don't want people to think like, oh, that's what you heard, but like he didn't actually say that. Because like, okay, what you said to me was something's not working.
Mm-hmm.
We've plateaued.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't figure it out, this isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the words you used. And so like, I was all kind of like, ugh, like that just felt like, it felt threatening to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my body was like, oh, okay. Like feels like it's do or die or something. Like it just felt like very like serious. And I know that that's like colored by you being depressed. not to dismiss it or undermine it, but it was just like, oh, okay. It just was like, it was kind of a bomb.
Right.
That I had to metabolize.
And I think why that was because I just was not, I was like really feeling frustrated with feeling like we were just in this routine of comfort, and I was missing like the feelings of uncertainty and like newness and wakefulness in the relationship. And sometimes I think comfort and assurance can feel like a bit of like the opposite of that, like kind of like can feel a bit like death.
But it's not as though you're feeling so alive in all these other areas of your life, right?
Sure.
It's like the umbrella over everything is like, I am depressed. I do not feel alive to life right now.
Yeah.
So the problem isn't necessarily with the relationship. What I'm feeling is more like symptomatic of like, I'm really going through something that doesn't allow me to like be present to life, which includes the relationship.
Yeah. And in the relationship, it felt like we weren't like really sharing certain things that were going on. Like things were getting not said, which is not like everything has to get said. I don't think that. But I think knowing how we both are and what our things, like what the things we avoid are as individuals, I was, seeing that, like lack of permission to kind of like have messiness, you know, because of our tendencies to people please and not want to like burden the other or be a bummer or be messy. You're nodding. Very vaginal, my screensaver. I just want to add.
What is it? Yeah, I guess maybe you mean vulvular. Do you mean like a vulva? The vagina is the birth canal.
I gotta go.
Yeah, I think you summed it up well. But
and then
well, so then Dan
there's more.
Well, so then Dan was like, okay, the night before he's leaving to go out of town for 5 days, he's like, yeah, like there's this huge problem in our relationship, and I hope we can solve it, or else like this isn't gonna work. And then also to like,
Did you feel
right-
like I was saying it's like your problem though?
no, it didn't feel like that. No,
Yeah.
no. But it just felt like very like hopeless with the way it was framed. It was like,
Yeah.
like, you know, we'll try to figure it out, and that's just like being depressed, right? Like there's not really like, you can't really access hope.
And therefore,
and also right before this conversation happened, it was right before we were about to have people over to the house. So then I'm just like sitting with this, and like we kind of like ended the conversation, but then like my anxiety was going like up and up and up and up and up, and I was like, we're about to have people over, I'm on the verge of tears, like I just like, am I just gonna go in my room the whole time because I can't be around people? But then I'm glad that I just like sat you down again, and I was like,
I want to get to this, but do you feel like you have an intention or like a purpose in communicating that I deliver this to you in this kind of like harsh, maybe fear-inducing way?
do I have a purpose in
like
sharing that?
What are you saying by saying that?
Sharing my experience, my side of what happened. Just like you're maybe sharing your side of what happened.
No, but I mean,
right?
I'm not saying like you shouldn't say it. I'm asking like what's behind it? Like,
what do you mean? Like to help people understand my emotional experience, which was like ultimately like fear and then anger. I guess I don't understand the question.
Did you feel like it was like a violent thing?
No.
Okay.
No, it was just, it just felt like, I guess maybe kind of chaotic or like cowardly a little bit to be like doorknobbing me in that way.
What is doorknobbing?
Doorknobbing is like a therapy term that's like, you have this whole session with your client, and then just as they're about to leave, they drop like this like big thing on you, like, I'm cheating on my wife, and it's like,
yeah.
But then it's like, because then they don't have to deal with. Are you implying
that I was saying that right before I left because I was about to leave?
Not consciously, but maybe subconsciously. I don't know.
I don't think I was.
Okay.
I just think it had built to that point.
Yeah, and that, yeah, I can believe that. It's just it was my experience of like, now he's leaving, and we're not really like, we don't really have any like plan or like resolution around this.
Right.
So
that's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that was a hard thing.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
It felt like there was a lot behind that, just like emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard for me. And at the same time, I was like glad that you were bringing it up,
Yeah, I felt like, because let's add, like, one piece of context is your experience, partially because you were feeling fulfilled with other areas of your life, is that you weren't feeling like down or like.
I was feeling anxious about the relationship in that I was having this strange paranoia that you were cheating on me. So that's how it was manifesting, because I couldn't really name it. So maybe my brain was like trying to find something concrete, because there wasn't any like indication that you were cheating on me, but it was just this feeling of like, something's wrong, must be that. And I brought that up to you, and you weren't really ready to talk about, what was going on with you.
You brought up,
I'm having this paranoia that you're cheating on me. And I was like,
you were feeling disconnection.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you weren't ready to talk about
the disconnection that I was feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cut to
the
next part of the story.
Going to therapy? Yes. Okay. Dan goes on his trip. He gets back. And I was surprised when you were gone that I like didn't miss you. Really, I missed you a little, but I was like more surprised because I was like, oh, I miss him more when he's here, because I was feeling that like lack of like, where's Dan? You know, you like disappearing into your
Yeah.
phone and stuff.
And yeah, I was having a definite like freeze flight trauma response to the like lack of connection I was feeling with you,
Mhm.
where you would do something and I wouldn't like it. And I, instead of possibly saying what I did want or expressing, at least like giving you the chance to know like something was like not happening that, you know, in our exchanges, I was just kind of like, well, this isn't working, like very defeatist.
Yes.
And that's like a internalized belief of mine that I can't, like, I don't have the ability to like get the things I want or even like ask for the things I want.
Can you think of an example of something I did that you didn't like?
Well, like a common thing is like you'll be playful with me or like flirtatious, and it's just like not the energy I'm wanting. Like I'm not. It's like it's not where I'm at, and instead of being like, hey, you know, what I would actually like is like this kind of like tenderness or like
Yeah.
sweetness, sad, like, you know, showing you my sadness or whatever. I would just be like, kind of like, okay, like I hate that, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, what a lose-lose.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big one for me.
Yeah, but we went to see lovely Jana, dance therapist, and
Pasadena.
in Pasadena. Hey, girl. And that session was really good. I also was like joking as we left, like that she's like, it's like such a good session for her because me and Dan like do all the work. And we just like, basically Dan and I know what questions to ask each other.
Yeah.
We've been in so much individual therapy, group therapy. Like she just doesn't even have to do shit, you know?
Yeah, she's selling popcorn. She did good stuff.
No, of course she did. Yeah. Yeah, so I left that session feeling closer to you and feeling like we had some ideas of like plans of like how to move forward. And I was more clear about, I got some clarity about what I wanted to happen, I guess, or like things that I need. One of those things being like thinking about like what are our commitments to each other, you know, and being explicit about that, because it's like if I have that, I feel so much safer to like have conflict and play and maybe test a different kind of dynamic where I'm taking more space and Dan can then pursue me, because I love to just like be together a lot of the time. But I do like having my alone time, but it's just I haven't been good at like initiating that for myself lately. Although I have been good at doing like my line dancing.
Yeah, that's another thing that we'd identified is like the default mode, and like there being times where I'm like needing something, but it's like I'm like not seeing that, and I'm just like, we're together, we're not like on the clock, we're having to do work or whatever. So it's like, all right, I guess we're gonna like just watch TV or like even though it, you know, like I can think of times where what I really needed was to like go somewhere by myself, like even go like see music by myself or like go on a walk or something. But it's just like when you're together, it's like so safe, and like it is like it does take work to like really investigate what your needs are
Yeah.
in relationship. In particular, I feel like it was different when I was single. I would like, it would be more obvious sometimes to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have maybe this belief that's been kind of hidden to me till right now that like um why I default to okay, like Dan and I are here at the house, like I guess that means we'll like do something together.
Right.
Um I guess one of the beliefs driving that is like, well, it's probably going to be more fun, than like something I would do on my own. But that's not always the case, but I think that's sort of this belief driving that.
Yeah.
Like together is going to be more fun than just like by myself.
Right.
Um
Yeah, and I don't think I said this yet, but the thing that I was really having a hard time with was I know what's good about our compatibility and our connection and like why I have all these reasons why you're like a really good partner in general and like a really good partner for me. But like in the down period I was having, I was like really unable to feel those and like feel connected to the joy of that. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
yeah. I think that happens with couples. When that happens for couples,
Yeah.
um they they might just break up.
Yeah.
Cuz like what happens is like it's like maybe this just isn't the person
Right.
for me, like and it's
Mm-hmm.
instead of going deeper and saying
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, why? Like there's there's got to
Right.
be some other reason cuz like if I know that this person is really good for me
Yeah.
and I'm not experiencing that, like something's going on.
Totally. Like that. Yeah. That feels like a, a, a real common pattern. It's like somebody kind of hitting a wall continuously in many relationships and just moving on,
Yeah.
even though like probably they're hitting different, a version of the same
Yeah.
wall
Of course.
in each relationship. And maybe being like, yeah, I guess like, I just have a really hard time being in a relationship.
Yeah.
But then of course you're single and like, of course you want to, like you're driven to start again. This is something I was talking to somebody, I'm going to keep them anonymous, about their marriage. And they were saying like their partner, at the end of the day, they have kids, I'll say, will come home and they'll like, be kind of like an asshole to them at times. Not like in capital A asshole, but just like kind of rude, like expressing their frustration in little ways and vice versa. And like
Mm.
um it made me think about this idea that like, Gabor Mate has that thing of like people who express their anger in healthy ways have better health outcomes. And you and I are both have trouble expressing our anger
Yeah.
outwardly.
Not just expressing, but even feeling,
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, feels hard to like identify the line of like, when is it kind of like a toxic, like we're just like, vomiting our shit on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And, this person's feeling towards it was like, yeah, I think like people need a person or a small group of people where they don't feel like they have to censor themselves and they can just be like, hello, just like express that like frustration and like it's safe to do that, even if it's not necessarily the most like pleasant thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think obviously though, it's like I do think though, you can sort of feel like when I'm like, okay. um like there's a way to express anger at someone because you're like annoyed at them, or they're just like they're not listening, or you feel like they're not paying attention to you.
As a way to communicate.
Like, yeah, like what the fuck is going on? You know, but not then to take it a step further and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, like you're so, you know, and just then start kind of like attacking and just kind of like, disrespecting.
Accusations.
Yeah.
Name
Like
calling.
you always do this. Like, so yeah, I think, I don't know. I can feel like if I take it too far, I can feel what that's like, but not everyone can, you know?
Well, I do think there's a version of that where like one thing you can say about it is maybe that pattern keeps you from deepening, you know, because if you're actually able to say the thing that's underneath the like bitchiness, maybe that leads somewhere potentially, like to deeper understanding or like, you know, being able to ask for something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, okay, you know how Esther says you're only ever fighting about 4 things. And I agree with that. It's like power and control, trust, intimacy, and respect and recognition. I think those are the 4 things. But then I do think like there are times where maybe there's not this deeper thing going on, but that's like, no, like you're just kind of being a dick right now.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe because you didn't sleep so good.
Right.
And you had a hard day and you're taking it out on me, and like just letting you know that's not okay.
Yeah, we don't do that much.
Yeah, well, because I do think we do a good job of like not really taking things out on each other.
We don't take things out on each other.
Which is good, you know.
Do you know what's kind of funny when Jonna was like at the end of the session, because she's moving offices, and I was like, so next week do we meet here or and you know, like instead of saying like, no, we'll be at the new office, she went, nah. You know, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like it was like she was like, nah, let's do the new one.
Yeah.
Like as if like I was, like,
as if like it was an option. That's so cool. I love her. She's really got like a unique vibe.
I know. Often at the end of our session, she goes, she's like, see you later, man.
I love that. She's very like lovable, like kind of like gawky, like just sweet. Like
she's not trying to be smooth or cool.
No,
in any way,
not at all. She's just like an open-hearted like dork, you know. But like that first call you had with her when you were trying to see if she could be a good fit for you, and she was talking about wearing masks.
She wanted to wear masks in the session, which she's since changed because she has a good air purifier. Oh yeah. She was like, I do ask that in the session, like we do wear masks, and she went, because I'm scared.
I love that. I just love that. Yeah, like just so like open, you know, just so like that this is what it is. You know, like not over explaining it at all. You know, like that's
generous.
Very like that I really admire that because I aspire to that. Yeah. Okay, we don't have to spend much time on the rest of these. But
how many are there?
No, just a few more. I just want to share that Shania Twain is one of the best, I think, artists of our time. And that song, Any Man of Mine.
So these are just like opinions of yours, these lists. Okay.
Yeah, it's just I need to share it. Okay. And maybe you won't really have anything to give back, but
give back.
I'm giving a lot.
Okay. Yeah, keep giving.
Dan's fuming. I just want to understand why I like to sing this song for karaoke. Any Man of Mine. I also just like to put it in the car and sing along to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get choked up singing this song and listening to this song. And that rarely happens to me with songs. And it's always around this one part in the song where it's like, it's the pre-chorus where she says, and if I change my mind a million times, I want to hear him say it like it that way. Yeah, like it's like yeah, like
unconditional.
It's like, yeah, it's like unconditional. It's like, yeah, I just there's something that it taps into for me. And how she's so unapologetic about like, if you are gonna be with me, this is how it's gonna be. And I feel like the dumbest take anyone could have about this song is is she's promoting a double standard, right? Because she's like, and I can be late for a date. That's fine. But he better be on time. You know, like if someone were just like being stupid and heard that, they would be like, that's a double standard. And it's like, that's called balancing the scales, honey.
Well, sure, but it's also like like it's like in a relationship, the needs of each partner aren't going to just be equal. I think that's a really false intention that people have.
Yes.
But it's like she wants to be able to do that, but she also wants a partner who is fine being on time themselves and waiting.
Yeah.
That's like the compatibility
image. Yes.
Or vision.
Yeah.
Do you know what it made me think of?
What?
In Jewish matchmaking, Nikisha, who's fat.
Yes.
And she was like, I want a partner who's fit.
Yeah.
And like, I'm the only one who will be fat in this relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked that too. You know? She's like, yeah.
But it's interesting, right? Because she prefers smaller body men. I don't know. It's provocative to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like she's giving herself that permission, but not her partner.
I like that. Yeah, there's something like, I don't know. To me, it's like.
But then she lost a bunch of weight.
That's true. But you know what? No judgment. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I feel like a superficial take on that would be like, it's not fair, you know, like it's not fair for her to give herself permission to be late, but her partner doesn't get that permission.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. It's just, maybe you're just saying like what you want it, like how you want it to be. And like, that's, and you're okay. I mean, you're okay wanting what you want. I think this song is about being okay, wanting what you want. And that's like, that makes me cry because it's like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
That was a good one, babe.
Just a small win I want to share, which is that it is now easier for me to swallow big pills. I repeat, because you, Dan, actually were like, you have to just relax your tongue.
And for like probably 2 years, I was saying, I can help you have a better, like, have an easier time swallowing these pills, because it was always this huge thing. You're like flopping your head all around, trying to choke
which
them
was
down.
Not always the case. It actually used to be super easy for me to swallow big pills, but I think I developed a neuroses around it. Neuroses is plural and neurosis is singular. I developed a neurosis around it. And it was kind of like that. I think like the medical term is like hystericus globulosum or something. Like they talked about it on Poog, which is like women feeling like they can't swallow, or they like have a lump in their throat or something. But it was just like, I was just like imagining this is going to be like, it's going to choke me, or I'm going to like vomit from like trying to swallow these pills. But I'm fine now. Got over that. Worked through that.
And you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, last thing I want to talk about. Well, I think we should do a Timon Kriek episode.
Oh, sure.
Or like a mini-sode.
Yeah, we love that guy.
But just to tease it a little bit, I think his name is at Timon Kriek on Instagram. Look him up.
How do you spell it?
TIMONKRIEK. This man his presence is online is explosive. It's like nothing short of explosive. I love that he's a man of God. I do not love how much bodybuilding he does and how like crazy big his muscles are. Because as we know, like I tend to go for men who have like the body type of my dad and my brother, which they look like they're like about to die of TB. They're like so frail.
Which is not my body type.
But I love your body type, which you know. But it's just like that's what I kind of was like conditioned to like prefer, because it's like that's like the men in my life.
A wiry,
wiry,
bony man.
Yeah, the chest goes in.
Yeah, almost out the back.
Almost out the back. Yeah. But this guy, if you haven't followed him, and we'll play clips of like his content on our episode. But
it's gonna be good.
He basically does these sort of like inspirational quotes, some of which I think are his original content, and some of which he surely like, you know, snagged from I don't know, like a Pinterest board somewhere. But it's like things like if you want to stay, and also he has like a really fun, it sounds kind of like European, you know, it sounds sort of vaguely Nordic, I don't know, accent,
sure.
Maybe German, I don't know. But he'll say things like, and it's a lot of relationship advice. So if we could actually get him on the podcast someday, that would be like a huge dream of mine. But he'll pop on, muscles bulging, you know, and he wears a really interesting necklace, which it looks like it's sort of like it kind of looks like a sparkly, fluffy microphone, like on a chain. It's very bizarre. Or maybe it's like a little miniature Bible.
I'm gonna look at it.
But he'll come on and say things like, if you want to go, my door is open. If you want to stay, my door is open. I just ask one thing. Don't stand in the doorway. You're blocking the traffic. And then it's like fade to black, you know?
And a lot of God stuff.
A lot of God stuff. He's like, you better be thankful. Shit, I can't remember this one. But anyway.
Here's a post where he says, it's a picture of him in a Lakers jersey, like lifting weights. And it says, the day I pull up to our house, our is all caps, with the children screaming, Daddy's home, with that beautiful lady standing behind them, will be the day I can say, in all caps, we made it, heart.
I love that. Like, that's very romantic. You know, like, I just feel like there's a lot of people who probably would just like want to dunk on him like mercilessly. Sure. And it's because it's easy to, but I don't want to go there. Like, I kind of want to just like think about, well, some of these takes are bad, and like, you know, that's okay. We can talk about them being bad takes.
Yeah.
But oh God, I mean the first one I saw was one of the best of all time.
Let's save it.
Okay, we'll save it. But we have to play the one. We have to play the one where he's like, hey man, come to this crazy event with me this weekend. There'll be tons of chicks and we're gonna get shit-faced. Yeah, that's not my kind of fun. You know, it's like he's playing two parts.
Yeah.
Incredible. So I think we should do that episode. That's gonna be fun. That's all I have. Anything else? Excited for season 3. My loves. And that's our show. Thanks for joining us. Our music is by Nightlight. We self-produce this podcast, so please subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps.